Winter on Uranus lasts for 22 years. On such a planet, if it were habitable, everything would be frozen, covered in ice, surrounded by a white and gray desert. People would have to stock up on food and provisions, build very strong buildings, and always wear warm clothing indoors. Finally, the use of transportation would practically be impossible, but thanks to the Sun, each planet in our solar system has a unique weather, climate, and season. Several factors contribute to this. First of all, it's about how far the planet is from the Sun. If it's close, like for example our neighbor Mercury, it experiences strong solar radiation. But if it's far away, like the dwarf planet Pluto, it can even be cold there in summer. Next, it's important how fast the planet rotates. On slow-rotating planets like Mercury, the days and nights are very long. This means that it gets hot on one side when the Sun circles and cold when it goes dark. The ground ascends too, but it's balanced due to its moderate rotation speed. The atmosphere also matters. A thick atmosphere prevents temperature from fluctuating too much, but if there's almost no atmosphere, the temperature can rise or fall greatly. The tilt of the planet's axis and the shape of the orbit are also crucial. Even if on Earth, in places located near the poles, there are 6 months of daylight and 6 months of night, and if the path of the planets around the Sun resembles an oval, then it heats up more as it moves. Cools down. No two planets are similar to each other. These changes occur on some and not on others. Let's start with Mars, our beloved little planet, possibly our future home. This is the 4th planet in our solar system, on which the seasons change in a bizarre way. Like on Earth, there are 4 of them, but they are about 2 times longer. Mars has an eccentric, egg-shaped orbit. Because of this, its orbital velocity varies more. This affects time. Martian winters last about 4 winter months, and they are also much colder than on Earth. In the area of the poles in winter, the temperature can drop to minus 123 degrees Celsius. In one hemisphere with the onset of winter, an ice cap grows, which takes about a quarter of the atmosphere in the form of dry ice. Then in the spring it gives it back. Mars also doesn't boast huge oceans like Earth's to balance out the extreme temperatures. Scientists believe that in the early stages. Existence of the planet, it had water, but now it is gone. Without water, Mars can have very low temperatures in winter, very high in summer. The large gas giant Saturn has a slightly greater axis tilt than the Earth, however. Despite the elliptical orbit tilt, it always remains cool. This is because it is far away from the Sun's heat. Even during summer, Saturn remains distant and not very cozy. The planet also has a dense atmosphere. It acts as a temperature controller. If any part becomes too hot or cold, the atmosphere gently spreads this temperature throughout Saturn. During the equinox, one side might get more sunlight, but the dense air provides relative coolness. But high up in Saturn's atmosphere, it's very different. The temperature here can fluctuate from serious coolness in the summer to an almost absurd minus 191 degrees in the winter. The next planet, Uranus, is an ice giant due to its elliptical orbit and great distance from the Sun. It's in a perpetual deep freeze. Its dense atmosphere also maintains cold temperatures throughout the year. Uranus has an incredible tilt, 3 times greater than Earth's. It's almost lying on its side, and it's probably one of the busiest places in our solar system. During the summer, one pole of Uranus is completely lit by the Sun, while the other end is cool and darkness. In fact, due to its strange rotational tilt, Uranus is even colder than its more distant neighbor Neptune. As we said, every season on Uranus lasts for around 22 Earth years, bringing us as close as we can get to George R. Martin's sci-fi books, all because Uranus takes 84 years to complete one revolution around the Sun, so its journey throughout the year is very slow. The last planet in our solar system is Neptune. It's the farthest icy giant with a tilt almost the same as Earth's and its orbit almost circular, so it seems like it should be more balanced, however. On this planet, there's a chilling ice-cold atmosphere with unimaginably low temperatures, all because Neptune receives only a tiny 1/10 of 1% of the sunlight that Earth enjoys. On Earth, the temperature gradually changes from the near to the far hemisphere. On Neptune, due to its circular orbit, only one hemisphere is lit. Unlike its neighbor Uranus, Neptune gets some heat from its core, but that heat doesn't help much. The cold is quite stable, regardless of whether it's winter or summer. But some planets don't have traditional seasons, they just mimic them, having different temperature cycles throughout the year. These planets include Mercury, Venus, Mars, and Jupiter. Mercury is the closest planet to the Sun. It is very strange because one complete cycle, day-night on it, is equal to 176 Earth days. 6 months pass on Earth while Mercurians are just coming. It's time to return home from work. This is because Mercury moves along a trajectory, resembling an egg for the same reason it has serious temperature changes. Sometimes it is very close to the Sun, sometimes not. At the same time, it does not have an atmosphere of protection from the Sun. This causes the days on Mercury to be very hot and at night very cold. But it also means that he has plenty of time to move from scorching heat to piercing cold. When Mercury is farthest from the Sun, it is real winter, or at least that's what we can call it. Thus, if he had seasons, there would have been only 2. The next one is Venus, a planet of merciless heat. Forget about the seasons, it's just always hot. Venus is very close to the Sun, and its nearly circular orbit and tiny inclination of 3 degrees means that the temperature remains fairly stable throughout the year. Even assumed in winter or in the middle of the night, the thermometer does not drop below 438 degrees, and Venus rotates in the same way. Controlling that the Sun, this means that the star is always directly above her head, pouring all her fiery love onto the surface of the planet. On Venus, there are no seasons like on Earth. The closest thing to the seasons is 225 days with at least 4 hours of sunshine. This can be called the Venusian version of spring and autumn. Jupiter is the largest planet in our solar system and doesn't worry about the seasons. Its slope is total, and it is almost as calm as Mercury. Additionally, its orbit is close to a perfect circle, so the sunlight on it doesn't change much. Also, due to its fast rotation that lasts less than 10 Earth hours for the seasons, there isn't any time left for long nights. Winter on Jupiter is essentially the same as any other time of year. And finally, Pluto, which still isn't a planet but is still worth looking at. Pluto is an outlier in our solar system, an icy little dwarf. Pluto is the standard of cold. The temperature there is negative 229 degrees. Pluto has the weirdest orbit. It's super elongated and tilted. Pluto travels a huge distance from the Sun. Because of this and its nearly non-existent atmosphere, Pluto remains in a state of perpetual cold. Winters there can be a little more extreme than usual, but the biggest change a person on Pluto would notice is not the temperature, but the brightness of the Sun, which is thousands of times dimmer than Earth's.